This Tuesday, March 5th, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and available in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. And we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, NHL, college basketball, and more. Sign up today using promo code SGPN to get a 100% deposit match. And we're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, March the 5th, currently 11:07 on the East Coast. Here to get into our NBA betting picks for the Tuesday night card in the association. And we'll briefly recap what we saw in the NBA on Monday night. But joining me here on this Tuesday episode, as usual, you guys know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, the WNBA, NFL, MLB, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast. It's Scott Suya Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing this Tuesday morning?
Doing pretty well. Pretty uneventful Monday for me. Didn't have much NBA action, so I can't really comment about it, but at least my bets. But as for the games themselves, they were pretty entertaining. A couple of collapses, especially by Sacramento, for example. And besides that, pretty interesting day in the NBA.
Yeah, it turned out to be, I guess, an okay pod as far as our picks went yesterday. I know Terrell was deciding between the Wizards and the Bulls as his dog of the day, and I was going to go the other way on whichever way he was going to pick. So he had the Bulls last night on the money line. I took the Wizards, who also had a collapse in that second half of that game against the Utah Jazz. I believe I took the under in the Bucks and the Clippers game. That one got home as well. So it turned out to be an okay pod yesterday. As far as the NBA overall went last night, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of lackluster night. I think the biggest game that I was interested in, at least, was that Lakers and the Thunder game last night, because that line was kind of bouncing around from -1 in favor of the Lakers and -1 in favor of the Thunder, depending on what side you were on. But nonetheless, Lakers got a huge victory last night over the Oklahoma City Thunder, 116-104, led by D'Angelo Russell. He finished the game with 26 points for the Lakers. LeBron in the game last night had a near triple-double, 19 points, 11 rebounds, fell 2 assists short. Anthony Davis, efficient night as well. Didn't play a lot in that fourth quarter, 24 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists. Also had 3 blocks in the game in 30 minutes. No starter played more than 31 minutes except for D'Lo, who did play 34 last night. So big victory there for the Lakers. Milwaukee comes from behind. I know you were talking about some collapses that were going on yesterday, but Milwaukee outscores the Clippers in that fourth quarter, 40-25. They pulled away, cover the spread. I know the number was starting to shift after we recorded the show yesterday because of the Giannis news. He didn't end up playing in the game. Did go around, shoot around, cut it short. And usually when you cut it short, you're usually not going to be able to go. But no, Giannis, no problem last night. Damian Lillard, another big night. He's starting to, I think, find his stride here with the Milwaukee Bucks. He finished the game with 41 points last night, 13 of 13 from three-point land. And then Bobby Portis had a huge night off of the bench for the Bucks as well. There, Scott, 28 points and 16 rebounds. So those are the two games that I was at least interested in last night. Anything that stood out to you?
Well, I mean, the Clippers' loss was embarrassing. You figure without Giannis, last-minute scratch. I know you tend to see NBA teams get up when they're missing a player, but the Clippers, they ended up beating the Timberwolves. I know that they had a bad scheduling spot, but still, I just have not been impressed by the Clippers for the last couple weeks,
Yeah.
and I wonder if you are considering to bet it on them to beat the Nuggets, or you think that they're going to make a deep playoff run. I am wondering if the recent stretch has kind of killed some of the hype train. I
Mhm.
think it might have, but
Yeah.
I just have not been a fan of them late in games. And I feel like yesterday was a good example of that. They got killed in the fourth quarter again by a shorthanded team. I might just be the centers. I know Kawhi was not good last night. Paul George kind of came back. We'll see how he looks moving forward. But Harden, in the game they beat Minnesota, I believe, did not hit a single shot. So it seems like as the season progresses, they just haven't looked as dominant. And I feel like people are starting to, I don't want to say panic, but I'm not as high on the Clippers as most people are. At least I was never, but still, I acknowledge how good they were for about 2 months. Recently, not looking that great. I'll put it this way. I'm still taking Denver over the Clippers in a series, and I think most people would agree. Some probably would not, but I just have not been a fan of what I've seen from the Clippers recently, especially late in games. That's where I'm going to start. The Kings I can't stand, and I still can't believe they didn't make a single move at the deadline because they've been blowing leads all season long, and they didn't make a move. And I think it's embarrassing they didn't make a move, and then they go into a very winnable game against Chicago, and they are up double digits entering the fourth quarter, and they get buried 36-18 in the fourth quarter, and they lose. So Sacramento is still going to potentially be a play-in team. We'll see what happens. Sabonis had 21 rebounds. Fox had 10 assists. They wasted both performances because they lost the game. And yeah, Kobe White had 37, DeRozan at 33, but the Kings choked again, and they blew a massive lead. And the other takeaway was Oklahoma City because they gave up 31 points, 31 rebounds, to Nurkic.
Mm-hmm.
They won the game anyway, and then you get buried by 18 rebounds against the Lakers again. So I've mentioned it multiple times. Both teams, I know that the Thunder have higher expectations than the Kings do, and the Thunder technically made a move because they got Gordon Hayward. I just can't believe OKC didn't trade for a center. And I've mentioned this so many times, and I know some people tried to kind of ignore my point in the Suns game because they beat Phoenix. They can't rebound the damn ball.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at the best teams in the West record-wise. You have Minnesota, ton of size. You have Joker. And I know that the Lakers are not exactly a good team based on record, but based on the play-in where that might finish, there's a chance OKC's playing the Lakers in the first round. I'm taking the Lakers. They can't rebound the ball. I mean, the Lakers are 3-1 in the head-to-head, so I got to at least bring it up. OKC did nothing to address their main concern. I'm not picking them to win a title when you can't rebound the damn ball.
I think the road just goes through the Denver Nuggets right now because at least, I mean, even going back prior to the All-Star break over the last month or so, like Denver has been the most consistent team. And I know they've been dealing with injuries as well. I know KCP was in and out of the lineup dealing with a hamstring issue. Same thing with Jamal Murray. I think it was a lower leg thing with him. But I mean, coming out of the All-Star break, it just seems like that the Denver Nuggets are playing the best basketball right now outside of the Boston Celtics. But at least in the Western Conference, I just think the road goes to the Denver Nuggets again. And again, they have their core intact from last season. I know they're missing Bruce Brown, who was, a big part of their title run last year. But again, like you mentioned, with a lot of these teams is that there's still flaws and consistency is a problem where I just think right now Denver is the most consistent team because they can shoot the basketball. They have great guard play. You have a MVP in Nikola Jokic that can do everything for you. You have a great head coach. So I think this team is primed to at least at minimum, I think, get to the Western Conference Finals again for the Denver Nuggets. So it'll be interesting to see if like the Clippers can get out of this little funk that they are in. In the Lakers, I think again they're probably going to be in that play-in tournament. That again, like you mentioned, that they do match up with OKC in that first round, it's going to be a huge problem for the OKC Thunder to rebound the basketball going up against Anthony Davis. LeBron, we know, can rebound the basketball as well.
I'm just going to ask you though, Thunder against the Lakers, and that you've seen it 4 times this season. The Lakers have won 3 of them. I'm assuming you're taking the Lakers in the series.
Yeah.
So I don't want to call the Thunder pretenders, but it's extremely matchup dependent because they really are undersized and they don't even have an option to use a center. At least if you don't even use like a Gafford or somebody you could have traded for, at least have them on the roster. Have somebody, so in these cases where you're against a team with a bunch of size, at least you have a breaking case of emergency option on the bench. You don't even have that. Like, what do you have? You have Chet, and that's it? You don't have any size at all? Like, I got to at least bring it up because I mentioned it multiple times. I cannot bet on them to make a deep playoff run if they're going to get killed on the boards in every game they play in. I just can't do
I
it.
think JR makes a great point that they settled for Gordon Hayward. Like, you have 18 first round draft picks. You couldn't have traded one for like a guy like Andre Drummond. Like, you would
Drummond,
have instantly.
I mentioned Gafford because Dallas, I don't remember giving up that much for Gafford. I thought he was pretty attainable.
Yeah, but you have
Like,
18 freaking first round draft
yeah,
picks. You could have parted with like one or even two and still had 17, 16, 17 draft picks left.
it felt like they had a chance to make a serious title push.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Denver would have beaten them anyway, sure. But you have a pretty good opportunity to make a massive leap and maybe make an NBA Finals. Maybe if you like
maybe.
actually address your team holes and
Yeah,
you have all that draft capital and you didn't do anything.
yeah.
You basically, I don't want to say punted on the season, but you punted a golden chance to be a representative of the Western Conference in the NBA Finals for no reason. I feel like you should have at least traded some of the picks.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I mean, again, we talked a lot about this. I know you and I were on the drum of Eric, like a player like Eric Gordon going over to the Phoenix Suns a few seasons back where they needed some bench depth. Now we're talking about the OKC Thunder needing to address front court depth or even just having a 7-foot guy that can go out and just rebound the basketball, man. They can pay millions of dollars to a guy just go out and rebound the basketball and give you some rim protection. That's all like OKC needs right now. You have an all-star MVP caliber player in SGA. Jalen Williams has been playing out of his mind. Chet has looked pretty good, solid as well. They have some great depth pieces as well. And you have all this draft capital. I think at some point, like, you have to, if you're Sam Press, you have to cash this in either. I mean, not either, but like this offseason, because you have your roster is starting to be a contender, like we mentioned, but there's still a couple of pieces to the puzzle that you need right now to be a legitimate championship contender. So we'll see if they do that in the offseason. Anything else from last night, Scott?
No, the Nets suck, but the game went over, so there's that.
Oh,
No, not really much else. Utah beat Washington. The streak continues. We'll see if they can catch Detroit.
yeah,
Washington, they might get last place in the entire league. So
yeah.
I'd hate to be that team, in the words of Kuzma. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, Kyle Kuzma, just could have just kept your mouth shut, but here we
Very nice
are.
dunk, by the way, by Colin Sexton after the game was over. That little lob to himself between the legs. If you saw that play.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Final buzzer went off, and Sexton just threw down a between the legs alley-oop to himself. It was better than any dunk Jaylen Brown did in the dunk contest. It was really good stuff. But yeah, that was one of the highlights. You had that double alley-oop that happened in the first half.
I saw that. Yeah,
I still don't believe that was intentional, but whatever looks cool, I guess. But either way, good win for Utah, I guess.
There we go. All right, Scott. Before we get into the games here for tonight, let me tell everyone about Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based. It's available in 40 states. Peer-to-peer social betting is a new and better way to bet. Bet directly against your friends or other users on sports, politics, pop culture, and other events with verifiable outcomes. Tons of fun social features. They give it a feel of a betting social network. Cut even offers lower VIG and fully customizable odds to create your own bets. Cut handles the payment side of things, so you never have to chase anyone down for money. Social features include group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan graphs, and much more. They also have a rewards program. You get cash back for every single time you bet against your friends or other users. Download Cut today in the App Store or over at cut.com. That's KUTT.com. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. And we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. You can play their pick'em game. It's pretty simple. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's games for a chance to win big. You can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. You can also make rivals picks with which picks 2 players against each other. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. Scott and I will put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for the Tuesday night schedule. And you can sign up today, but make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. As well, you'll get an instant pick'em special. So visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with our code NBA SGPN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant pick'em special. You must be 18 years or older and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, Scott, let's get into it here for tonight. I think there's 9 games on the schedule. So let's lead it off here with the first game on the board. We got the Orlando Magic. They are in Charlotte here tonight to take on the Hornets. Currently, as it stands, the Magic are a 8.5-point home favorite with a total of 207.5. Looking at the injury report for the Orlando Magic, Markelle Fultz is officially questionable on this injury report with left knee injury maintenance. For the Charlotte Hornets, Steph Curry is going to miss a couple weeks. Cody Martin is out as well. Nick Richards has a right plantar fasciitis discomfort, is what is classified as. He's officially questionable, and Mark Williams continues to be out for this Charlotte Hornets team. Scott, 8.5 in favor of the Orlando Magic here in Charlotte. What are you thinking?
For this one, I like the under. Just simply put, Charlotte's been a very good under team ever since they traded Hayward away, and ever since LaMelo's been basically shut down for the rest of the season. They have not been as good at winning recently, but that makes sense. They covered as an outright dog about 5 games in a row, give or take, a couple weeks ago. But I like the under. Orlando, we know, is the more talented team, so I'm not going to pick Charlotte to get the job done in terms of winning, but I think it's going to be closer than people might think. 8.5 is a decent amount for the road, especially with Orlando not being a very good road team in general compared to their home and road splits. But I like the under in this game. I think this low total is warranted. I think that Charlotte might not reach 100. Probably not. So I like the under in this game. Until Charlotte proves they can actually score on a regular basis, I'm not going to take overs with them. And the under has been very profitable because either they show up defensively or they no-show offensively or both. So I'm going to go with the under in this game.
Yeah, Charlotte, since the All-Star break, are averaging 99.4 points per game. And then the 7 games they've played after the All-Star break, the under in those games are 6-1 with an average final score of around 206 in that span. And to add on top of that, Orlando is the second best defensive rated team since the All-Star break. Charlotte has improved in that area as well, like you mentioned, right? They're up to number 13 as far as defensive efficiency, and they are the second worst offensive rated team. So a pretty good recipe there for the under here as well. If you just want to take a look at pace as well, Orlando, the second slowest team, and Charlotte Hornets are right around 10th slowest as far as pace since the All-Star break. So a good recipe for the under here. I'm with you on that for this game. I'll lean with the Magic. Again, like you mentioned, offensively, until Charlotte can show us that they can put up points, Orlando still has the horses that can, put the ball inside the basket and play good defense. So I think that's where they can really create that separation. Can the Orlando Magic? And since the All-Star break, the Orlando Magic are, let's see here. I know they've been doing well at home, but let me see how they've done since the All-Star break. So they're 5-1 straight up, 4-2 against the spread, and they also are 5-1 towards the under. So yeah, I'm with you all over the under. Player props in this game here, Scott, since we like under, maybe some rebounding props or some defensive props you're looking at.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking of. I thought about maybe going with Franz Wagner threes under because I don't know if you've noticed, but he completely forgot how to shoot the 3 ball. He's just been really, really bad at shooting threes this season, and that has not gotten better anytime soon. To go through Wagner's actual numbers from 3, just to read them off, the attempts are kind of there, but he really just can't shoot. To go through the 3, sorry, I'm just pulling up the last couple of games for him. So Wagner's threes are at 1.5. It is juiced pretty heavily to the under. So maybe if you want to consider pivoting, he's made 0 threes in 4 of the last 5 games, 0 threes in 3 straight. He's made less than 2 threes in 7 of the last 8 games. And in the last 10 games, he's shooting 22% from 3. He just can't shoot. I don't know what happened. Like Franz was really good at shooting threes the last couple of years, and it just fell off a cliff for him. So I'm interested in that prop potentially. I am thinking if I want to go for unders in general, that does result in reboundings for Bridges. I gave out Bridges double-double over the weekend, and that cashed easily in that game that they ended up eventually losing, but Bridges still had a very good game rebounding the basketball. I like the double-double again. I think that Bridges is a really, really solid rebounder for an undersized team. Richards has been fine for the most part, but
Mhm.
Bridges, if you go through the actual rebounding numbers, has been very, very sharp. And I do think that it's a very good spot to keep riding it since we're expecting a lower scoring game. Bridges double-double is plus 195. So the price has already dipped a bit. That was kind of in the mid 200s about a week ago. But if you are looking at the rebounds for him, just to read off the last few games, his props at 7.5. Last 7 games, 14, 11, 10, 3, 10, 11, 9. So give me the over 7.5 rebounds for Miles Bridges.
Yeah, I like that. Again, if we do think that it's gonna be a more defensive game here, the rebounding prop definitely on Miles Bridges is the way to go in this game. Pancaro's had pretty good success at least scoring the basketball in this game, but again, since we do like unders, I'm not sure if the shot volume will be there for him. He's had at least 21 points in all 4 matchups in his career against the Charlotte Hornets: 21, 22, 31, and 23. But I think that you probably want to look at, like Scott mentioned, rebounding props in this game. So, um, yeah, I didn't much have as many player props in this game here. You have anything else for this game?
No, then we basically covered it.
All right, next game on the board here. We'll go over to the game between the Boston Celtics. They are in Cleveland to take on the Cavs in this game. Currently, as it stands, the Celtics are a 8-point favorite in this game with a total of 215.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown is questionable. He has a left knee contusion. Kristaps Porzingis is also questionable for this game. He has a left quad contusion. For the Cavs, um, Donovan Mitchell is going to be out for this game. He's going to miss at least the next 3 games for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Isaac Okoro and Karis LeVert are both questionable as well. And Max Strus is also out for this game. So Cleveland hurting a little bit here. They will be without Donovan Mitchell. They will be without Max Strus and questionable tags on Karis LeVert and Isaac Okoro. Scott, let's start with the side here. Celtics -8 in Cleveland here tonight.
Yeah, give me Boston. I can't really make a case for Cleveland right now. Jalen Brunson plays less than a minute and you still lose? Really?
Yeah.
Really, Cleveland? I know Mitchell's been out and whatever, but I mean, damn, man. Like this Cavs team, I can't even figure out how they won like 17 of 18. I don't know how they pulled that off. I don't think this team is that good. And I know Mitchell's been injured and out of the lineup. I get it. But just the roster construction, I still don't think Garland and Mitchell play well together, and I still don't think Mobley and Allen play well together. So I don't know how this team's record is actually as good as it is. This team is a one and done written all over it again, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm taking Boston. This team's a machine. I mean, I understand that we kind of have a running joke on the show about how you can't trust Boston because in the playoffs they're always going to fall apart. They're on the longest winning streak of the entire season by any team. They beat Golden State by what felt like 90 points. They have been destroying everybody in their path. How am I supposed to go against Boston right now? This team is playing the best basketball of the entire season by any team. Cleveland's falling off a cliff. I just can't. I just think Boston right now is a wagon. I can't go against them. So even if they are due a slip up, maybe they are. I think they should take care of business. I'm going to wait to see them against Denver later this week, which should be a lot of fun. But still, I got to take Boston. Cleveland's trending in the wrong direction. One of their only wins recently was a prayer by Max Strus. They should have lost that game.
Yeah.
They've been a mess. I got to go with Boston. This team's been great.
Yeah, I mean, like it's available bodies as well. I mean, I know you mentioned that they've been playing terribly, but I mean, you're without Donovan Mitchell, you're without Max Strus, your best shooter, maybe, yeah, best pure 3-point shooter. Isaac Curl's questionable here today, and who else did I mention on the injury report? That's Karis LeVert as well. So, I mean, like even without Jaylen Brown, if he doesn't play in this game, and or Kristaps Porzingis, you still have obviously Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, uh, Derek White, I think as well. So I think this Boston team is just rolling right now. And we've seen what they've done over the last 3 games. Have the Boston Celtics. So I think that just continues to roll here for this Boston Celtics team. So I'm all over the Celtics here, -8 as well. Totals at 215.5. I would probably consider like a Cavs team total under in this game or a Celtics team total over.
Mm.
That's the way I would look at it here, Scott. What do you feel about the total in this game?
I feel the same way. I mean, the last 2 games were at home, but Boston scored at least 138 points in back-to-back games.
Yeah.
So I have to lean to the over. I just feel like Cleveland, even if they only score 95, I can see Boston scoring 120 plus points. I think
Yeah.
this game might be I think this game might be just an absolute destruction. So I think Boston could win this game by a lot of margin. I agree with you about the actual team total over for Boston and the under for Cleveland, but I'm going to lean to the over because I just think Boston is going to get whatever it wants. So I'll go with the over.
11.5 for the Celtics team total. Why does that seem so short? I know that like we talked about the injuries, but I mean, let me
First two
see.
meetings this season, Boston won 120 to 113. That was in December. Faced off a couple days later, Boston won 116, 107.
Yeah, and Cleveland has dropped all the way down to number 18 as far as defensive efficiency goes since the All-Star break. I know for much of the season they were hovering around like they were the best as far as defense went throughout the season, but since the All-Star break they've dipped all the way to 18. So I'm gonna write down on my short list 111.5. I think that just seems a little bit conservative, even with possibly KP and Jaylen Brown not playing here tonight. Player props, what are you looking at?
For player props in this game, it's tough to tell with Boston because they might be up by 30 at some point. So
Yeah.
it is pretty tough to find what I actually am really tempted by for player props in this game. Uh, I think Tatum assists is worth a look. He's had at least 5 assists in 9 of the last 10 games. It is juice. It's like minus 148, so it is a bit expensive. But let me see if there's anything else I am tempted by. Jaylen Brown, I don't know if he's going to play or not. You mentioned he might be questionable. I am tempted by Garland under 21.5 points. I get the argument is Mitchell's out, so Garland's going to have to shoot a lot, but I just think Boston defensively is good enough to give him some I'd say interesting defensive coverages to worry about. Boston's got length. They have good
Yeah.
defensive players, and Garland, if this team gets routed, might pull everybody. So 21.5 felt like minus 102. I see plus money actually. DraftKings is plus 105 on Garland under 21.5 points. That
Mhm.
looks good to me. I'll take the under.
Tatum rebounds. He's had at least double digit rebounds in 4 straight games against the Cavs. 12, 11, 10, and 11. I did take it in this, I think it was the last game. Was it? I think it was not the Warriors, but the one prior to that. I got hooked on it. And it turned into a blowout. So I think that's also a concern when it comes to, either like points props or rebounds props for this Boston side. So I'll consider it at over 8.5 for Jason Tatum for his rebounds, or if you want to tack the assist on there as well, because he's had over the last 4 meetings against the Cavs, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 11 rebounds, 3 assists. So maybe a RA look here for Jason Tatum here tonight. Anything else for this game, Scott?
No, I think we basically covered it. I thought about trying to find a bench warmer for Boston, like maybe Hauser threes or something, because I know he's been good recently.
What
Doesn't
about like
exist.
Pritchard?
I thought about Pritchard too. Doesn't exist. So I looked into those two. Wasn't available, but they might get some run in this game. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I know. Payne Pritchard's he's been getting some minutes even with um like the starters, or even that
Yep.
second unit. I know he's like one of the first guys coming off of the bench for them, but he's been able to shoot the 3 ball. He's made at least 2 threes in the last 2 games, at least 2 in 3 out of the last 5 games as well. So again, in this case, this turned into another blowout for this Boston Celtics team. Obviously, you expect Payne Pritchard to be out there for the Boston Celtics. All right, Scott, before we get over to the next game on the schedule here in the association, let me tell everyone about Hall of Fame bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NBA season with Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NBA and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on the schedule, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. They are headed up north to take on the Toronto Raptors. Currently, as it stands, the Pelicans are a 9-point road favorite here with a total of 228.5. Looking at the injury report for the New Orleans Pelicans, they are going to be without the usual suspects. We know Dyson Daniels is going to be missing the rest of the season. Other than that, clean injury report for the Pelicans. For the Toronto Raptors, we know about Scotty Barnes. Bruce Brown is going to be out for this game as well. And Jakob Poeltl is going to be out for this game here as well. So no Barnes, Brown, or Jakob Poeltl for the Toronto Raptors here. Scott, let's start with the side here. -9 in favor of the Pelicans here against the Toronto Raptors. What are you thinking?
I mean, New Orleans is the much better team, but I still don't really trust them. 9 on the road's a lot. We know New Orleans is a very good home team, not good on the road, but we know Toronto's shorthanded. Scotty Barnes has been their best player for the entire season, and he was playing good basketball again recently, and he's
Yeah.
out. I mean, I actually don't mind Olynyk starting. I think he gives them a little bit more offensive versatility than Pirtle does, but it's going to be an issue defensively because we know that Olynyk isn't exactly the greatest rebounder. He's fine, but I think Valanciunas might give him some problems. I do like the over in this game, just based on what I think the pace should be with these teams playing. Quickly is going to take so many damn shots, and that's going to be a problem because I don't think
Yeah.
he's that efficient, but him and Barrett might see this as the ultimate green light game. I'm going to lean to Toronto plus the 9. I get the argument is Scotty Barnes is out and he's been valuable for this team, but 9 on the road's a lot. I just think it's a lot of points for a New Orleans team that has not been very good on the road this season. So I'm going to lean to Toronto. I'm going to lean to the over though. I see points, but I mean Toronto has not been great at home. New Orleans is still 18-13 on the road, but ATS, I don't believe they've been very good in that area. I'm going to lean to Toronto, but I'm not going to bet this game.
Yeah, I think like the Raptors offense now is just going to turn into like jacking up a whole bunch of 3-pointers.
Yeah.
That first game against the Hornets, quickly did have 22 points, did have 7 rebounds, 11 assists. I think, we'll talk about player props here in a second, but they got up 38 threes in that game against the Hornets. RJ Barrett, 23 points, Emmanuel Quickly, 22 points. Gary Trent had 17, Ochi Abachi. So you have 4 guys, at least 3 guys right there between Ochi Abachi and Gary Trent and Quickly that like to jack up a 3-point shot. RJ Barrett will get his attempts as well. So, and then again, guys coming off the bench, right? Grady Dick, another 3-point shooter for this Raptors team. So I think if they're able to knock down their shots here against this Pelicans team, I think they could keep it within this number. We've talked about it all season, Scott, that Pelicans have just been a great team in the first half. So if you want to get on the Pelicans, maybe look at them in the first half, get in with your money, get out with your money, because we've seen it more times than not that this Pelicans team, they fold in the second half and they let teams hang around. And we've seen that, like I mentioned, multiple times. So if you want to go Pelicans first half, I'm trying to pull up their exact record this season in the first half. So 37, 22, and 2 in the first half for the Pelicans, 18 and 13 against the spread in the first half as well. Boston has just been so good, in the first half as well. But yeah, I think Pelicans first half would be a look here for me. You said you like the over in this game. Yeah, I couldn't argue against that. Again, if I think that the Raptors knock down their 3-point shots, obviously that only helps the over in this game. Player props, what are you looking at?
For player props, I am going to take a guy that I really don't like as a player, but the line's too low. I like RJ Barrett threes. I like the over 1.5 threes for him. It's at plus 102. He's made at least 2 threes in 5 straight. He's attempted 6 threes in 2 of the last 3 games. And with Barnes being out, there's a lot of extra shot attempts being up for grabs. So given the main usual suspects for threes for Toronto, I like Quickly. It's at 2.5. It's at like minus 140, but I do like the over there. Barrett at 1.5, I just think is too low based on the volume he should be getting. So I am going to lean there. Yeah, I know Valanciunas rebounds is pretty tempting because he usually kills this team. So we'll see how that goes. Any thoughts on Olynyk rebounds? Because it's at like 7.5, and they really don't have many other center options.
Yeah.
Is it a pretty like sneaky buy low game for Olynyk, maybe PRA or something? Or do you just think that Quickly is going to ball hog and he's going to be the one getting the stats?
So, and that was the what I was deciding between or looking more into. Is it Kelly Olynyk PRA, or is it Emmanuel Quickly rebounds and assists combined? Because last game, like I mentioned, he did have 11 assists for the Toronto Raptors against the Charlotte Hornets. In back-to-back games, he's had at least 11 dimes for the Toronto Raptors, has Emmanuel quickly. But I think for me, like with Kelly Olynyk, it's like it feels like there's a ceiling to the number of minutes that he's going to be playing, because he hasn't played more than 28 minutes over the last 5 games. And now maybe that obviously changes without Scotty Barnes in the lineup and no Jakob Poeltl as well. But I think for me, I think the safer play, because I know that Emmanuel quickly is going to be out there, and his usage rate is pretty much going to be through the roof now without Scotty Barnes. So I would look at Emmanuel quickly rebounds and assists to go over. That's at 12.5 at even money, or just his assists to go over, because he had at least 9 assists in 3 straight games as well for the Toronto Raptors. That number for him is currently sitting at 6.5 at -166. So it's pretty much at 7.5, either at even money or maybe some plus money if you can find it out there. So I would go with quickly here, Scott.
Yeah, I also think I like Olynyk. I see Olynyk's threes are at a half. So he needs to make
It's
one.
good for one.
He's made at least 1 3 in 4 of his last 5 meetings against Valanciunas. And it makes sense conceptually because Valanciunas is extremely slow to actually cover on the perimeter, and he sags underneath every pick and roll. So if you get Olynyk on a pick and pop or maybe in transition, if he's going to attempt at least 2, 3, maybe more threes in this game, you're telling me 1 3 is -140? He's made 1 3 in 3 of the last 4 games anyway. But Valanciunas isn't exactly great at covering the 3-point line. So yeah, I like Olynyk too. Over half a 3 at -140.
I was looking at Jonas Valanciunas rebounds. That 9.5, man. That feels kind of low. I mean, you mentioned he's actually
It's all about
crushed
playing
this
time
team.
usually for him.
Yeah,
Right?
and especially in this matchup where, like, if Jakob Poeltl was playing, I feel like that he would be out there a little bit more minutes. But again, if you kind of go back and look at what he's done against the Raptors, like you were mentioning, in his career, he's averaging 14.3 rebounds just over the last. So he's been in double-digit rebounds in every single game in his career against the Raptors, except for one, where he ended up with 9. Um, so last meeting, like I mentioned, he had 12 prior, 13, 9, 17, 21, 20, and 10. So I think that might be worth a look here for me for Valanciunas. And let's just quickly, before we get to the next game here, see the minutes that he's been playing. I think he left with an injury against the Pacers in that game last Wednesday. Rather than that, he's been around like 20, 25, 26 minutes. So I definitely think that he can get that done. So I think that's going to be on my card here as well. Valanciunas over 9.5 rebounds here tonight. You have anything else for this game?
No, I think we basically covered it.
All right. Next game on the board, we got the Detroit Pistons. They are in South Beach to take on the Miami Heat. Heat currently sitting as an 11.5-point home favorite with a total of 217. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams. Start here with the Detroit Pistons. They will be without Quentin Grimes, who is doubtful. Other than that, pretty clean injury report for the Pistons. For the Miami Heat, Tyler Hero is out. Kevin Love is out. Caleb Martin is available. And then Josh Richardson is going to be out for this game as he continues to deal with that right shoulder injury. So no Kevin Love, no Tyler Hero for the Miami Heat. 11.5 is the number right now for the Miami Heat hosting the Detroit Pistons here. Scott, what are you thinking?
So I recognize how good Miami's been recently. Props to them for picking it up in the second half of the season. I can't lay 11.5. I think we've talked about this many, many times with Miami. You'd rather have him as a dog. You don't want to take him as a big favorite, and they're laying double digits. So I'm going to pass. I'm going to lean to Detroit. Yes, this team got killed by Orlando last game. I get it. Point is, though, they have been better recently in terms of competitiveness. I think Miami's going to win, but with Hero being out and with even Love being out, who's been decent this season as a rebounder off the bench,
Yeah.
I just think that 11.5 is too many points. I think Miami's going to win, but there's no incentive to run it up. Give me Miami by like 7.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's the rule, right? Terrell's talked
It's
about
the
this a
rule.
lot, is
Yep.
that you fade Miami as a home favorite. Now this being out, I mean, in double digits, I think Pistons can keep it competitive here. So I'll take the Pistons here plus the points with you here as well. Just looking at what they've done on the road this season as far as covering the spread, 5-26 straight up, but it's 16-15 against the spread. So they've been at least competitive in their home games. Sorry, the road games, but they just haven't been able to win a lot of those games. So I think they keep it competitive here. Let's go with the plus 11.5. Total sitting at 217. 16 in this game. Pistons, after the All-Star break here, Scott, are 6-0 to the under, and the Miami Heat also have been on the lower scoring side. I know their game against the Utah Jazz on Sunday, I believe it was one of their higher scoring games. Other than that, they've been 3-2 to the under as well. But just unders overall since the All-Star break. I'll pull up those numbers here in a second. But what are you thinking about the total in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to lean under. First meeting was a long time ago, but it did land 207. I believe it was 207, 205 is where it landed. Utah doesn't guard anybody, so I'm going to toss that game out because we know Utah just only wants to play track meets. Same with Sacramento, but all the other games were low scoring, so I'm going to lean to the under.
Yeah, I think under for me here as well. Since the All-Star break, unders are 126, 56, and 4, close to 70% towards the towards unders. I don't know what the reason for that is. But yeah, I mean, unders have been very, very profitable right now for the NBA since the All-Star break. Player props, what are you looking at?
For player props, rebounds, I think Duran's worth a look here.
Yeah.
With Hero being out, I probably would want something Jimmy Butler related because the ball will be in his hands more. So I am wondering what exactly I want to take with Butler. Points now, because I don't know if he actually attempts enough shots for that, but he has been a bit more aggressive recently. I am just quickly seeing if there's any type of props for Butler I'm interested in. But you have anything that you were tempted by?
Yeah, so you mentioned Butler. It's either going to be like rebounds and assists combined or something in that neighborhood for Jimmy Butler. I mean, last game, like you don't know what you're going to get from Jimmy on a given night, right? And that's the thing that's hard to figure out because like games against the Utah Jazz on Saturday, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, but then against that game against Denver, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and then you go back to the game against Portland, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, and the game prior, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. So if that combo number is probably 12 and a half for him, if I'm guessing here
It's
for
11. It's 11 and a
yeah,
half.
11 and a half. So if you want to look at that, I mean, defensively, we know he's going to fill up the stat sheet. He's had at least a steal in 5 straight games. He had at least 3 steals in 3 out of the last 5 games. Toronto's a turnover. I mean, so Detroit's a turnover-prone team. So I think that there's an opportunity for me if you want to look at his steals and blocks to go over his steals alone. Bam may be worth a look here, but I'm gonna try to dig into his numbers against the Pistons. But did you find anything as far as player props?
For Bam, I refuse to bet his player props, so I'm not going to do it. But I think for Butler in this one, I'm going to lean to the assists. It's once again either assists or rebounds, maybe both. They're both at 5.5, but
Yep.
he has had at least 5 assists in 5 of his last 6 games. He's actually so I do think he's in line for a pretty good showing here. I don't want to say triple double. Like I can see him being on the fringe territory of it, but I'm not going to give it
Mm-hmm.
out.
Okay.
But I do think that Butler can put up a pretty good 7-7 type game for rebounds and assists. So maybe both go over. I'm thinking of what else I really want to take because Isaiah Stewart has been decent. I think that his PRA is interesting at 17.5. He's gone over this number in 8 of his last 10. So I think that he can put together a good showing here. We know he's a good rebounder as well, so that could be worth a look. His rebounds for this game are set at 5.5. 5.5 is way too low. He's had 9+ rebounds in 2 of the last 3. He's gone over in 7 of 10. He's gone over in 14 of 20. I don't know why this number is at 5.5. I like the Isaiah Stewart rebounds.
All right. Anything else for this game?
No. I think that's basically all I got.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. Excuse me. Next game on the board here, we've got the Philadelphia 76ers. They are in Brooklyn here tonight to take on the Nets. Currently, as it stands, the Sixers are a 3-point road favorite here with a total of 216.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, start here with the Sixers. No Robert Covington, no DeAnthony Milton, and Cam Payne is questionable. He's dealing with an illness. Brooklyn played yesterday, so they do get that extra time to submit the injury report. So keep an eye out for that. They are coming off of a loss. Are the Brooklyn Nets against the Grizzlies last night? But Philly with the rest advantage here, laying 3 on the road here against the Nets here. Scott, what are you thinking?
I don't know why the spread is so close. I know Philly has not been good, but the Nets on a back-to-back, a physical game that they ended up losing. Give me Philly. The Nets beat Atlanta. And we know Atlanta's been a laughingstock. They're one of the worst point spread teams of all time. So I'm not going to fully toss it out, but I'm at least acknowledging what Atlanta is. I mean, home court doesn't even matter because as a Nets fan, I can tell you that nobody goes to the games and the team's not any good. So I'll take Philly in the spot. I just think Philly's the better team. Maxey is probably the best player on the court since Bridges has been underwhelming all season long. I get the Sixers aren't a great team. I'm aware of that, but the spread should be higher, especially with the Nets being on a back-to-back. Give me Philly.
Yeah, the Nets on a back-to-back this season are 2-7 straight up, 2-6-1 against the spread. In those back-to-back games, they're allowing 121.2 points per game in that span, and they have lost and not covered 5 straight back-to-back games. And I do understand this is a home and home and not travel's not involved, but they played a full 48 minutes game last night that came down pretty much to the wire in that game against the Grizzlies yesterday. So yeah, give me the Sixers here as well. Um, total is sitting at 216.5. Scott, what are you thinking?
Uh, I'll lean under. The Nets can't score. That's kind of what I'm banking on for this game. So the Nets were good in 2 games against the Hawks. Even good. One of them was insane. The other one was 114, but still, that's 2 good games. They've been really, really bad offensively if you take those 2 games out, and we know Atlanta's a really bad defensive team. I just think it's going to be a rock fight. The Nets you mentioned are a bad team on back-to-backs because they just don't have the legs, which should affect the scoring. I'm going to lean under. I think the Nets drag it by themselves.
Yeah, both these teams are well below league averages when it comes to offensive efficiency in this game. But I mean, like you mentioned, like offensively, I think the Sixers will be able to score. I mean, they have some guys that can fill the basket, but like you mentioned, for this Nets team, like they're the 4th worst offensive rated team since the All-Star break, and a lot of them guys. So all 5 starters yesterday for the Nets played 33 or more minutes. 4 out of the 5 starters yesterday played 37 or more minutes last night. So I'll expect to see some tired legs catching up here for the Brooklyn Nets team. So I do like the Sixers here -3 here with you. I'll lean towards the under here as well. I don't have a great feel about that. Player props, what are you looking at?
For player props in this game, oh boy. I think Max season 1 for a good game. Maybe Buddy Hield threes. I know Cam Johnson's been good, so if you want to back him, I don't mind it. But I mean, these teams are just bad. Like it's hard to find value on much. I do like something involving rebounding. I just got to figure out which angle I want. I don't know if Paul Reed's going to do much, but I know in the past he has given the Nets some problems. Claxton's been kind of a non-factor recently. Maybe Tobias Harris, but honestly, props I kind of just want to pass on this game. I really don't like much. Buddy Hield assists is pretty cheap. I guess that's where I'll start. Buddy Hield 3.5 assists is at -125. He's gone over in 9 of the last 10. So I think Buddy Hield assists is worth a look at 3.5.
So I think Kyle Lowry has been inserted into the starting lineup for this Sixers team, and his assist may be something that the market probably won't have caught up on because he's been inserted into that starting lineup, and obviously it's reflecting in the number of minutes that he's played as well. So that first game against the Hornets, where he was put into the starting lineup, he played 36 minutes for the Sixers. He had 10 assists in that game, and then against the game against Dallas on Sunday, also was inserted into the starting lineup. 33 minutes, had 7 assists. So that number, I don't see that out yet for Kyle Lowry, but I think that's something I'm going to keep my eye on as far as the assists here in this game against the Brooklyn Nets, which kind of just tells me, I think that, like you mentioned, that Maxey should have at least a bigger game scoring the basketball for the Philadelphia 76ers in this game. So Lowry assists is what I'll be probably looking at in this game. And again, for Tyrese Maxey, 24, 24, 32, 33, 24 in his last 5 games, scoring the basketball. He's averaging 27.4 points per game in that span. And there's this guy that was getting the assist, right? But those assist numbers are down now. And I think that might be something that has to do with Lowry being inserted into that starting lineup as well. And like you mentioned, Buddy Hield getting those assists as well. So Maxey points was something to look at. And then I'll wait for the Kyle Lowry assist prop for this game later on when it does get released by the books here. Couple guys in the chat, Fahrenheit 451 saying Play smash spot. Sixers have won 9 of the last 10 against the Brooklyn Nets. Tobias Harris 20 plus, and Philly money line is plus 190. JR
I
mentioning
refuse to back Tobias Harris to score 20 points in a basketball game. So I'm rooting for you, but that can't be me. I've seen Tobias no show too many games.
JR mentioning Claxton Field Day. Sixers. Oh, he's on the other side. Sixers
Yeah.
getting smacked. We'll see about that. All
As a
right.
Nets fan, this team's not smacking anybody. I'll just tell you that much. They can't score. How are they supposed to score enough to smack somebody? Like, that's kind of the problem. But yeah, this team, it hurts to be a fan. Let's put it that way.
Better days are ahead, Scott. Better days are ahead. Anything else for this game?
No. I'd rather talk about other games I actually am more interested in.
All right, let's get over to the next game. We got the Atlanta Hawks. They are in Madison Square Garden tonight to take on the Knicks. Knicks currently, as it stands, are a 3.5 point home favorite here. And this number is moved. I think I saw that opened at 2 last night or 2.5. Now up to 3.5. Back down to 3 right now is its current number. Total sitting at 215.5. Injury report for both of these teams. Start here with the road team in the Atlanta Hawks. Pretty much guys that are on G League assignment, other than we know that Onyeka Okongwu is out and then Trae Young as well. For the New York Knicks, OG Anunoby has started on-court activities, maybe closer to return, but is officially out for this game. Same thing with Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson. Jalen Brunson is officially listed as questionable for this game. He's dealing with a left knee contusion. Knicks, fortunate that avoided serious injury in that last game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So just came out to be a left knee contusion right now. So officially questionable here tonight is Jalen Brunson. Scott, let's start with the side here. Knicks -3 as the updated number right now as it stands, hosting the Atlanta Hawks.
So I don't think Brunson's going to play. He's too valuable. There's no point. You stole a win against Cleveland. You bought extra time to not use Brunson. So they're going to be shorthanded. I don't really care. This Atlanta team sucks. Like, I don't know what you want me to do here. This team is one of the worst spread teams of all time. They got killed by the Nets in basically back-to-back games, and I think that's a serious red flag. So I'm going to go with the Knicks. They're the tougher team. They're the more physical team. And Atlanta, DeJounte Murray, we know is a solid player, but Jalen Johnson's good, but it just hasn't meshed. So I'm going to lean to the Knicks. Am I going to bet it? Probably not. Give me all the Josh Hart props because he's one of my favorite players in the league. I need a triple-double last game against Cleveland, so I think he's in line for a pretty good game. But I'm going to lean to the Knicks because at least I know what they are. The Hawks are just a team that goes through the motions with no intensity, and they lose almost every game. So I'll go with the Knicks at home.
Yeah, I think this might be a good day to give Jalen Brunson the day off because
if
their
they
next
lost
game,
to Cleveland, you could argue, but they beat Cleveland, so there's more incentive to even rest them at this point.
yeah, and their next game's not till Friday, so then you'll get him almost nearly at least 4 to 5 days off there before they play the Magic at home on Friday night, and they're in the midst of a 4-game homestand here. So, like we mentioned, the Hawks tonight, Magic on Friday, and then they have back-to-back games on Sunday and Tuesday against the Sixers to close out their short 4-game homestand here. So, yeah, I'm gonna on the Knicks here as well. This Hawks team, I mean, the talent's there, man. It's just that they can't just put it together. I don't know what it is. I mean, Jalen Johnson at the beginning of the season, we talked about it a lot. He was playing out of his mind. But I think it's just that front court depth right now. It's just not there anymore, right? They traded John Collins. Onyeka Okongwu has been injured. Clint Capella, I think, has one of the worst hands in the entire league.
He does.
I've seen that because
he can't catch the ball.
It is so bad. Like, it would infuriate you. And him being close to 7 feet when he was with the Rockets, I don't know why he didn't dunk the damn ball. And he still doesn't dunk the ball. He's up there laying it up when you're 7 feet tall. Dunk the damn ball, Clint Capella. But it's what you mentioned about this Knicks team. Like, they have dogs, right? Josh Hart, like you mentioned, had that triple-double. The last 2 games, his rebounding has been absolutely nuts. And the amount of minutes that he's playing, played 47 minutes against the Warriors, 45 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we know that he's going to be out there at least for 40 minutes. For at minimum 40 minutes for this New York Knicks team. So take up all of his props. But yeah, Knicks here for me. Total, Scott, what are you thinking? I'm kind of leaning towards the over here, but I want curious to see what your thoughts are.
I can't take an under with Atlanta. You somehow give up
Yeah.
120 plus points to the Nets in a basketball game. That's a serious problem. I'll lean to the over.
Yeah, I know the Knicks after the All-Star break, and especially missing all their key defensive guys, were at the bottom as far as defensive rating goes. They have improved, but they're still bottom 7 as far as defensive efficiency goes over the since the All-Star break. Atlanta, for whatever reason, they are at number 15, but I think that a lot of that has to do with them playing the Brooklyn Nets, who, just like we mentioned, can't fill up the basket and score points. So Knicks team total may be worth a look. I think that maybe some pretty good value on that number. But yeah, I'll lean towards the over in this game. You mentioned Josh Hart for player props here, Scott. Anybody else outside of him you're looking at?
I am potentially tempted by McBride for threes, but I don't know if there's any props listed on him yet. I'm assuming Brunson's not going to play. So with that being the case, I really do like McBride in this game, but I don't see any numbers on him. You know, DiVincenzo's going to chuck the ball from 3 about 15 times. So if you want to go DiVincenzo threes, I don't really mind that either. But yeah, I think we kind of covered it. His threes are at 5.5 though. I get it. Like Dante. I can't even argue with it because the attempts are so crazy, but I don't think I can take 5.5. 5.5's a bit wild. 4.5 minus 145. He's made 6+ in 2 of the last 3 games, but I can't take that. Yeah, so I'm gonna renege on my DiVincenzo threes, but I like McBride props if it gets posted.
Yeah, I mean, when you're attempting 12 and a half attempts per game over the last 5 games, I mean, that number is going to be definitely up there. 14, 12, 18 just alone over the last 3 games for Dante DiVincenzo. Yeah, Josh Hart, I don't see listed. I think we're still waiting on the news for if Jalen Brunson is going to be going in this game or not. But after that, I think I'll probably just pivot to Josh Hart in this game as far as player props. Anything else for this game?
No, then we covered it.
All right, next game on the board, we've got the San Antonio Spurs. They are in Houston to take on the Rockets. Rockets are a 7.5-point home favorite here with a total of 228.5. Looking at the injury report for the San Antonio Spurs, Wemby is officially questionable for this game. He has left shoulder soreness, and Julian Champagnie is questionable as well. He has a right ankle sprain. The Rockets, pretty clean injury report. Tari Eason did have surgery, so he is done for the rest of the season. Other than that, everybody is a go in this team on this game for the Houston Rockets. Rockets laying 7.5 here against the Spurs here. Scott, what are you thinking?
Well, with Wemby potentially being out, that kind of throws a wrinkle into things. He's been amazing, simply put. Wemby, if he reaches the criteria, he probably wins unanimous Rookie of the Year. And I know that Chet is on a winning team and all. What Wemby's done the last 2 months, he really should be unanimous. It's not even close, as far as I'm concerned. He's having one of the best rookie seasons of all time. So with him being out, or I'm assuming he's not going to play. I'm assuming you agree with that?
Who, Wemby?
Yeah, with shoulder soreness, like what's the point?
Um,
He's not in danger of missing the criteria. The Spurs right now have played 61 games. He's played 55. So he needs to reach, what is it? He needs to play 12 of the last 21 games, basically.
He's played 55, you said?
Yeah, he's played 55, and they have
So he needs to play like 10 more.
61. So I believe the criteria was, I'm trying to remember, how many games?
65, I think.
Yeah, okay, so it's 65. So yeah, so he needs to play 10 games. So he's not in danger of missing it. I think he'll sit. We'll see what happens. But if he sits, I'm taking Houston. Wemby's the entire team. Yeah. The rest of the team sucks. So I'll go with Houston at home.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this throughout the road, home and road splits for the Houston Rockets are, I mean, astronomical, right? I mean, just to put into perspective here quickly, Rockets at home 20-10 straight up, 19-10-1 against the spread. On the road, 6-24 straight up, 11-18-1 against the spread. And I think the Rockets, I want to say they are in some type of a red spot here because I know the Spurs I've won, so this is the third meeting. Both teams have split a meeting. The Rockets won the last meeting at home 93-82. I believe that was the game without Wemby for the actually he did play in that game. He had 12 points, 18 rebounds. 15 points, 18 rebounds. But I mean, like you mentioned, if Wemby plays in this game, this number is going to definitely move. If in that case, I'll be on the Spurs. If he doesn't play, I think the Rockets do take care of business here. Just because, again, they are at home where they have been dominant. So a lot of that throws a wrench into what we think about the total and player props here. But do you have any anything on either one of those, the total and the player props?
I think Şengün's going to dominate if Wemby's out. I'm trying to think of who's going to get a bump. Who's it? Zach Collins? Collins even in the rotation
Yeah,
anymore?
he is, but he's just. I mean, I was watching the Spurs game. Was it? I think it was against Utah like a few weeks back. He is just. He's wild. I'll put it that way. It's just so hard for it to watch him play because there's games where he looks really good, and there's games where he just has butterfingers and everything's kind of rolling off his hands. He's has turnovers. So yeah, I mean Zach Collins will be the guy that probably gets a start because I don't think they have a lot of front court depth after Wimby
Yeah.
and Collins for that
I
matter.
mean, that's worth a look. Vassell is going to get the green light. Keldon Johnson will get the green light. So the usual guys are going to take a bunch of shots. I know Terrell is going to be on Vassell props. So yeah, Dylan Brooks under for points has done really well for me for the last couple of weeks, and I keep giving it out and it keeps cashing. Yeah, I'll go back to it. Brooks, to go through his numbers recently. Let me just pull up the points here. So for Dylan Brooks points, it's at 12.5. He's gone under this number in 4 of the last 5. Actually, he's gone under this number in 5 of the last 6. So I like the under for Dylan Brooks points here. He had 2 points in the last game against San Antonio, so this number's too high to me. On a separate note, Luka got the technical fouls. Brooks,
There we go.
I need 3 techs in 21 games. You've had 0 techs in the last 10 games, and it's driving me nuts. Can you please get 3 technicals to cash my parlay? Please. 3 techs. That's all I need. Please. 4 gets you suspended. 3 is fine. Just get 3. Please. That's all I'm asking for. But I like Brooks under and points.
Do you want me to drive down to Toyota Center today and be like, hey, come on, we need 3 more techs out of you, Dylan Brooks.
No, because I think that Brooks would do it. I think Brooks would purposefully not get a tech to spite me. So I'm going to go with just please yell at somebody, please. So that's all I got to say about Dylan Brooks.
Şengün has done really good rebounding wise against the Spurs, but I mean Jabari Smith has one that's just been dominating on the boards for the Rockets. And that number's probably at 10.5. I wish it was at 9.5 for Şengün, but it's at 10.5. I think his points would probably be something I look at here tonight. Excuse me, for Şengün. Other than that, I mean, I don't have much else for player props in this game. You have anything else?
No, I think we basically covered it.
All right, next game on the board, we've got the Indiana Pacers. They are in Dallas here tonight to take on the Mavericks. Currently, as it stands, the Mavericks are a 4.5 point home favorite with a total of 245.5. Looking at the so up to 246.5 now is the updated number. Looking at the injury report for the Indiana Pacers, a lot of questionable tags here. So, well, actually, it's more guys that are on 2-way deals. So, Aaron Nesmith is questionable. Ben Shepherd is questionable, and Doug McBuckets is going to be out. The Dallas Mavericks, usual suspects that are questionable: Luka, Derek Jones Jr., and Maxi Kleber are all questionable. Derek Lively is available to play in this game. These two teams just recently matched up in Indiana when the Mavericks were on their West Coast road trip. They got murdered in that game. At least more so in the fourth quarter, at least. They lost that game 133-111. They only end up scoring 20 points in that fourth quarter. They have lost. Let's see here. 4 out of their last 5 games have the Mavericks against the Pacers, the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Sixers. Back at home, hosting the Pacers here. We've also been a little bit struggling on the offensive side here. I'm not going to lie here, Scott, but 4.5 is a number for the Mavericks here. What are you thinking?
I don't want to bet on either of these teams. Dallas, remember when they were peaking about a week and a half ago and then everything went off the rails again? Yeah, this team can't guard anybody. So it's going to be the same thing over and over again. As for Indiana, Halliburton has to be injured, right?
There was
looking at the stats, he has to be hurt, right?
Yeah, there was a game where I don't know if it was against the Pelicans where he was like 0-4. But yeah, something has to be going on because I mean, last 2 games combined, he's 4 of 23. He's only had 11 assists combined in those 2 games. We're just so used to seeing him having 6-7 assists just in that first quarter. So yeah, could be something that's injury related. Offense have struggled as well. So yeah, there's something there.
I guess I'm going to lean to Dallas because they're healthier, but I want nothing to do with either team. I like Halliburton under. His points are at 18.5. He has scored less than 18 in 5 straight. So, yeah, I'll fade the injured player. That's kind of how I'm going to go about it. Under 18.5 points for Halliburton's even money. I like that quite a bit. So I'll go with the under, and I'll just fade the injured player and move on.
Yeah, 4 of 23 combined shooting for Hallie in the last 2 games, 0 of 12 from 3. 12 points, 11 assists combined in the last 2 games for Halliburton. Oh, I guess I'll lean here with Dallas, man. I think they got to get out of this funk sooner rather than later. I know they were on that long road trip, and that first game back is always a tricky one. Lost the game against the Sixers, so I think that, again, in a kind of an immediate revenge spot after losing by 22 against the Pacers back in Indiana. I don't know if you want to talk about the Rick Carlisle going up against his former team, revenge angle, whatever the case might be, being back in Dallas. But I think I'm with you. Forced lean, I would go with the Mavericks here. I do like the first half over in this game, though. I think coming out of the gate, I think Dallas will be a little bit more focused on the defense. Sorry, on the offensive side. You mentioned it that Dallas has been absolutely atrocious defensively. They are the worst defensive rated team over the last or since the All-Star break. So I think that continues here tonight. So at least I do like the first half over in this game as far as a total. You have anything on the total here at 246.5 now?
I mean, I want to lean over, but Halliburton, I don't know if he can move. So I
Yeah.
guess I'm leaning over, but I really want nothing to do with this game.
Any player props you want to look at?
Yeah. So I mentioned Halliburton under for points. I do like Luka triple double. I don't know why it's plus 280. He's had a triple double in 3 straight games. Now he's had like basically 40-point triple doubles in 2 straight games, and they lost both of them. But still, yeah, 3 straight with Luka against one of the worst defenses in the league, and it's plus 280. Sign me up. I'll take a Luka triple double again.
Yeah. That's interesting. Why is it at plus 280? Again, like you mentioned, 3 straight triple doubles. I know he struggled against the Pacers, but I think I might look at like Luka points here tonight. I think he's historically done pretty well against the Pacers. 33 last game, 25, 39, 30. I think because he's only had 1 triple double in his career in 9 career games against the Pacers, maybe that number's at plus 280, but he may be a little bit more focused here tonight at getting this team out of their slump that they are in right now. Kyrie, if you want to look at that, he's done well against the Pacers as well, averaging 22.5 points in his career, but last couple games, 29. That last game, 16, 16, 20, 28, 35, 35. Yeah, not much else from you. Anything else?
No, I think basically covered it.
All right, last game of the night, we've got the Phoenix Suns. They are in the Mile High City to take on the Denver Nuggets. Currently, as it stands, the Denver Nuggets are a 9.5-point home favorite here with a total of 223.5. Injury report for the Phoenix Suns. No Devin Booker. He's in with the right ankle sprain. He's going to be out about 7 to 10 days. Damian Lee is questionable. Sorry, Damian Lee is out. Yusuf Nurkic is questionable. He has right calf tightness. Josh Okogie is out as well. For the Denver Nuggets, everybody is a go in this game. Only person that is going to be out is going to be Can Carr, who is dealing with left knee surgery. Suns coming off of the loss against the Thunder on Sunday night on their home floor. They came back in that fourth quarter. I believe they had like a 4-point lead, and after that, it was pretty much history for the Suns in that game. They lost the game to the Thunder 118-110. No Devin Booker, possibly no Yusuf Nurkic coming off that 31 rebounding game against the Thunder, but 9.5 is the number here, Scott, for the Denver Nuggets. What are you thinking?
I don't really like laying a lot of points with Denver, but I understand it with Booker being out. Durant's past his prime. He can still put up numbers, but still, we know that he's not the same guy he used to be. Supporting cast is not very good. That's why we've been critical of Phoenix all season long. So I think I have to lean to Denver. I don't feel great about it because I think Denver is just going to win and they don't really care about margin, but they've really flipped the switch. And they needed to. Post All-Star break, I don't believe they've lost a game. And they've beaten some good teams. They've been extremely focused, especially late in games. We saw it against Miami, saw it against Sacramento in the second half of that game, saw it against the Lakers in the fourth quarter. This team is starting to look like the title team from last year, and that is not a good sign for the rest of the league. I'll go with Denver.
Denver since the All-Star break. That's what I was in the middle of looking
I'm
up
pretty sure they're
here.
undefeated.
Yeah, I don't think they've lost a game either. Let's just see here. Yeah, 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread. Again, we talk about like the Denver Nuggets are another team that at home they've been really good this season. As far as winning games, the spread record just hasn't been there for them. They're 24-5 straight up, 14-14-1 against the spread. And then on the road, 18-14 straight up, but just 13-18-1 against spread. But I think what you mentioned is 100% correct, that without Devin Booker, like there's a significant fall off as far as the depth goes, right? I know Bradley Beal is back. He's kind of been inconsistent, and he's a step away from another hamstring injury and leaving the game again for this Phoenix Suns team. And if you saw that game against the Thunder were pretty much double teaming Kevin Durant and forcing somebody else to beat them. And I think that's maybe something possibly the Denver Nuggets do here tonight is throw a double team at Kevin Durant, get the ball out of his hands, and make somebody else try to beat you. But I just think that there's just too much firepower on this Denver Nuggets team right now. Even if it's at 9.5, I'm going to go with the Denver Nuggets here. They're just rolling right now. They're playing great basketball. They're in good form. 5-1 against the spread, like we mentioned, since the All-Star break. Nikola Jokic should have a big game here tonight. We'll get into player props here in a second. But yeah, Denver here for me. Total sitting at 223.5. Scott, anything on that?
I don't really have much there. I guess if I had to pick a side, I'd lean to the over, but I don't have much for this game.
Yeah, I think Denver has been one of the better defensive teams as well. Yeah, number 4 as far as defense rating since the All-Star break. It just comes to the fact: do we think Phoenix could put some points in this game? I don't think they can. I'll lean towards the under. I don't love it, but I mean, with the defense that Denver's been playing, the lack of offense right now for the Phoenix Suns, I just don't think that there'll be enough. I think this somewhere falls within like 115 to like 105. Like it just gets under that number, and the Denver Nuggets barely cover here. But player props, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I'll go with Jokic triple-double. I'll just run it back. I know that recently he hasn't exactly put it up the last couple games. That's fine. I just think that Phoenix's defense is not very good, and Nurkic might not play. So Jokic might get whatever the hell he wants in this game. But to look at the triple-double for Jokic, just quickly going through the actual numbers, it's plus 175. It's just such a good price, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's still at a triple double in 4 of the last 6, so it's not like he's completely cooled off. His numbers have been good. It just hasn't been triple double good for the last 2 games. But yeah, I just think he's in line for a good showing here. He's had a triple double in 2 of the last 3 games against Phoenix, 3 of the last 5, and I don't think Phoenix can stop him. So give me Joker triple double.
Yeah, I was looking at his RNA to go over in this game, but then if you like the RNA over, it's pretty much going to go triple double at plus 175. Like you mentioned, right against the Suns, 41-15-15, 2 seasons ago, 21-18-9, 21-5-16. So he's filling up the box score as usual against this Phoenix Suns team. I think that's pretty much it, man. I don't have any other player props. I think somebody pointed out in the chat. Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. rebounds hit for the last 5 for MPJ as far as 8+ rebounds. And Nurk again, yeah, questionable tag here as well. Bruce mentioning KD points and assists to go over. I think I like the assist angle for KD in this game. It'll be interesting to see what the defensive game plan is going to be for the Denver Nuggets against Kevin Durant in this game. But yeah, anything else for this game, Scott?
No, I think we basically covered it.
All right, that was the last game of the night here. Let's get into our lock and dog for the Tuesday night schedule here, and then we'll put together our Underdog Fantasy entry for the card here tonight as well. You want to lead us off?
Sure. So for the lock, there's actually a lot on the card that I actually liked. Question is, I want to go with like a Bridges prop. Do I want to go with the under in that game in general? Because I think that game is going to be a rock fight. What's that total again in the Orlando game? It's like 207, 208.
207 and a half. Yeah.
I mean, I do like it. Let me just quickly check to see what the sorry, I just want to quickly see what Charlotte has been doing offensively recently. I know it's not going to be good. I just want to check
Not
it.
much.
Yeah, not much. Defensively, though, they have given up some points recently. They've given up 111 in 3 straight, or 4 straight, I mean. So I'm probably going to pivot away from that. Thought about maybe Bridges rebounds, but I think instead I'm just going to trust my instincts here. Give me Kelly Olynyk over half a 3 at -140.
Okay.
I just think it's a very good matchup for him. He's going to be getting the start now that Pirtle's out, and he should be getting a boost of minutes. He just got a contract extension, so they might just try to give him some extra run there. But you're looking at his numbers against Valanciunas, who we know is really bad at actually covering the three-point line. He will sag off everybody. So I think that Olynyk might actually get some attempts in this game. And he has had at least 1 3-pointer in 3 of the last 4. He's had at least 1 3-pointer in 4 of his last 5 games against Valanciunas. So I like the matchup for Olynyk. He should get a boost in playing time because Pirtle's out, and I think that's going to work out well for him. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Olynyk over half a 3 at -140 as my lock. For my dog, I think I have to go with an alt spread. I got to take Boston. I got to figure out what line I actually want for them. I thought about doing a parlay, though. I thought about maybe doing Boston -8 parlayed with the Sixers, but that involves trusting the Sixers, which I'd rather not do. I really just think Boston's going to kill this team. Cleveland's missing so many guys. I just think Boston's going to win this game by 15 plus. So let me just quickly see if I could find an alt spread for the Celtics. Boston on the alt spread here. Okay, I'll take -12.5 at +165. So for my lock, give me Olynyk over half a 3 at -140. For my dog, give me the Celtics -12.5 at +165.
All right. All right. For my lock, it was going to be Boston -8.
You can still do it.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite play on the board here. I did like that first half over the Pacers in the Mavs game. I think they just come out playing well. I'm trying to find a number on that. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, I'll do that. Let me pivot to that. So I'll go Pacers Mavericks first half over 123.5 for my lock. For my dog, didn't like a lot of dogs on the board here tonight as far as winning outright. I think the closest one probably would be the Pacers at +140.
You can take Joker triple-double, +175 if you want.
Yeah, and I think the only fear for me in that is gonna be, like, if it turns into a blowout.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other player props that might
And they
be a
don't have
plus.
Josh Hart triple-double out
That
either.
that I was checking double-double, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me see what else they have potentially. I mean, if you want Valanciunas double-double, it's cheap, but you can
Plus
consider that if you
115.
want it.
I think I would, like ladder his rebounds because, like I mentioned, 9 career games. He's had at least double digit rebounds in 8 of those 9 games. So let me see if I can find it. Here's where's Valanciunas. All right, so 10 and let's just keep it simple at +150. Over 10.5 rebounds for Valanciunas at +150. Let's do that.
Sure.
Over 10.5. And then if you want to ladder that up even more, I think it's a good look. Again, like I mentioned, historically, he's just doing really well against his former team in the Raptors. So again, over 10.5 rebounds for Valanciunas, +150 as my dog here for tonight. All right, let's put together our Underdog Fantasy lineup here before we do wrap it up. Again, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use our promo code NBA SGPN. First deposit bonus of up to $100 for new users. And if you already have an account, get your friends, family, coworkers, anybody 18 years or older. And if you're in a legal state, make sure you get them signed up. But make sure you use our promo code NBA SGPN. All right, Scott. Let's start here with our underdog entry. Where do we want to go first?
Do you want to go for Joker spicy, or do you want to just keep it simple?
Let's see what the number is.
It's Tuesday. I'm not sure if the digestion's good. I don't know if you want to have some spicy or if you want to keep it bland.
1.25 on the higher. I don't hate it.
I mean, it's 175 market though. That's kind of the problem.
Yeah,
Is
so
that
there
you're not really
we're
getting a good
losing
number.
50 cents.
I think
Yeah.
I'd rather pass on that, to be
So you
honest.
want to go like PRA or and go RA?
I kind of just wanted the triple double, so we might just have to
Okay.
pivot off of that entirely. Are there Olynyk props?
Olynyk,
I
let's
have to
see.
ask. I just feel like it's a very good opportunity anytime you get somebody who's getting a boost in minutes and a boost in role to take his
Yes.
hires because he's going to get more run. So,
Yeah, they have Olynyk props. What are we looking at?
do they have
Points.
3-pointer?
Olynyk threes. They only have it for the lower at 1.1.
Oh, what a joke. Oh, come
Yeah.
on.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Yeah, but the higher is 0.9, so we're losing 10 cents. So they have a higher 3-pointer made at 0.9, and the lower is at 1.1.
Well, I'm trying to do the math, though, but the market's minus 140. So isn't 0.9 actually good?
Yeah.
So
So
I'll
it's
take
like
the
10
0.9.
cents on the dottle. Or
Yeah,
like,
10. I'll
yeah.
take that.
All right. So we'll start there. Kelly Olynyk, higher half a 3-pointer made. Do we want to look
Go
at Butler?
rebounds?
Oh, yeah, Bridges rebounds. Let's look at that.
It should be around 7.5. I know Orlando's a good rebounding team, but if we're expecting a lower scoring game with the workload he's getting, I still like it.
His is at 8.
Okay.
But he's been in double-digit rebounds, like you mentioned, more times than not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any player props you want to mention that I forgot about. I do like the Dylan Brooks lower on points, which I wanted to mention as well, because he's been an under machine.
Let's see. Dylan Brooks' first quarter 3 points is a prop. 11.5 is a number right now. We'll go lower on that.
Yeah,
he's going
lower in 4 or 5. So
yeah, you want to do Luka triple double? It's 1.75.
That's a terrible deal. It was 280.
Okay, never mind. Then we're not going.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like I have to at least compare the odds to the actual markets, so I know when I'm like voluntarily ripping myself off.
Who
I'm
else
losing
did
a
we
full
mention
dollar on that
we liked? So I think Tatum has a good game, but I think that
was a
turns into a
dangerous
blow.
one because it's either rebounds or assists, and we're basically just picking at that point. You said they don't have Josh Hart.
Let me see. Yeah, no Josh Hart.
I mean, do you want Halliburton lower on points and just hope that he's still injured?
Hallie.
Just a thought. We could do Valanciunas if you just want to do that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
We'll do
Valanciunas. You want to do double? We're getting 5 cents of value on it at 1.25. Sure. All right,
let's do
that. All right. So Kelly Olynyk, higher half a 3-pointer made. So we need 1 3-pointer made from Kelly Olynyk. We'll go Dylan Brooks, lower 11.5 points. And then we'll go Jonas Valanciunas, spicy on the double-double at 1.25. That gets you to around 6.75. So every $10 you put, you'll get a return of $67.50 if all 3 of those do cash. Again, UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use our promo code NBASGPN. First deposit bonus of up to $100. If you already have an account, get your coworkers involved. Get your family members involved. Use that promo code NBASGPN. All right, Scott, that's going to do it, my man, for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Anything else we want to mention before we get out of here?
No, show was fun. Looking forward to being back tomorrow. I will not be here Thursday, though. I'm going to be traveling, so just a heads up, Terrell's going to fill in for me on Thursday.
Yep, Terrell will fill in for Scott on Thursday, but it will be Terrell and Scott tomorrow for the NBA Gambling Podcast for the Wednesday card. Make sure you follow Scott on Twitter. That's at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. And also follow the NBA Gambling Podcast Twitter account at SGPN NBA. If you haven't already, leave us a rating and review for the podcast wherever you do get it, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, wherever you do listen to us. And then if you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and do so as well. Like we mentioned, Scott and Terrell back tomorrow. Same place, same time. Good luck with your bets here tonight. Let's break these books off and let it ride.